Hello, I'm Bertha Day. I'm a textile artist living in St. Andrews, New Brunswick, and today I'm going to show you how to do free motion embroidery. I use free motion embroidery for a lot of my work, and I think that you will find once you learn how to do it, it's very enjoyable and you can be very creative using this method. Let's get started. When you do free motion embroidery, you need to have special feet. This is the one that I would use if I were using my old my featherweight. It's an old-fashioned metal thing, but it works perfectly. What I'm using today is this acrylic one that I use with my Singer sewing machine, and you'll see me using it. There's several different types. You'll find one that works for your machine, I'm sure. Different kinds of thread, almost any kind of thread, sulky sliver, fine thread, cone thread, as long as it's good quality, will all work. I'd like to show you what I'm using for a stabilizer. I'm using an architect's drawing paper, and I like it because it's very crisp, but it's fine and it's easy to remove. Because it's acid-free, I don't have to worry about any discoloration if I leave a little piece behind when I'm removing the stabilizer from the back of my embroidery work. I also want to show you the foot up a little more closely. This is the foot that I use. That goes onto the machine. That's where it hits the needle plate. You can find these at your local sewing shop, I would think. There are different kinds, and you will find just the right one to fit your machine. When I set up my machine for free motion embroidery, I use the same thread generally in the top as I do in the bobbin. Later on, when you want to have a different look, you might use different threads in one or the other. As I said, always use good thread, and always use a stabilizer. When I begin, I tack at the very start so that I run the machine back and forth a little bit, so I'm not going to have to tie off any ends or anything like that. I slowly run the machine and I push the fabric around with my hands. Now the speed that I run the machine and the speed that the fabric is moved determines whether the stitches are tight or short or long or loose. And I found over the years that it's generally better for me not to use a pattern, not to draw on the fabric first. It's much more enjoyable if you can do it without having lines, because it's easier, and also you don't have to worry about getting the marks out of your fabric afterwards. If you can make it enjoyable, it's a lot more fun, and when you don't use a pattern, you always end up with something different. Every time you get something that's totally new. The flower I'm doing today is Queen Anne's lace, and it's one of my absolute favorite flowers to work on. I think because it's such a beautiful flower anyway, but it gives you lots of chance for variety. As you're sewing, every once in a while stop and rest your hands. When you do that, try to leave the needle in the fabric so that it's going to be very smooth when you start again. That always helps. Although the stitching is very, very fine because you're using the sewing machine, it's also very strong. You'll notice that I'm just slowly moving the fabric around and drawing. There's no need to hurry. You can stop and rest, as I said, whenever you feel like it. Take your time. You can see that I'm slowly working my way down, back down to basically the root of the plant and where I started. I always try to end where I began, so that I can finish everything off smoothly. There's no ends to tie off, and it also continues to make the whole thing fun, because you don't have a lot of little nitpicking things to do afterwards. You can get right on to finishing the ribbon work and have fun doing the whole thing. Your creative juices don't get clogged up while you're doing little pieces that aren't a lot of fun. This is the Queen Anne's lace. You can see now that it's upright. It's what a plant does look like before any blossoms are added. I'm going to remove that stabilizer. Make sure I get it all off. And I'm going to use those little pieces of ribbon floss. I'm probably going to choose 2 colors to use to do the blossoms. It gives added dimension to the flower. I'm really just going to tie French knots. You can see how, when we get in a little closer, how the heads of the flowers look with that added dimension. Really gives it a nice look. Now this is the finished product. This is what the cushion looks like when it's put together. I'm going to show you the back of it. It's an envelope style cover so that the inside cushion can be removed if it has to be cleaned or anything like that. That's a close-up of the embroidery, so you can have a good close look at that. Here are a few individual ring pillows that I've done with different designs on them. I'm also going to show you some of the Queen Anne's lace that I've done on different surfaces. These are little bags here. You can see how they look on the black velveteen. The next one, I've used a bit of pink in the flowers, so you can see how each of them are done totally free motion, so they look absolutely different. This last one is Queen Anne's lace, but with a bit of artistic license when I've used red in the flowers instead. This piece is called Tending the Web. I'd like you to notice how I've used the free motion embroidery to do the grasses and the flowers, as well as the spider's web. You can just see how many different things you can do with free motion embroidery. I want to thank you for watching. I'm going to ask you to check out my website at berthaday.com, and if you get a chance, check out my Etsy shop at Bertha Day Fine Craft. Thank you for watching.